the first report today is from Dmitry Galkin. He's a professor of Institute of Art and Culture at Tomsk State University, and he is going to talk on creative repetition. The theme of his talk will be creative repetition, new media, contemporary art, and understanding of plagiarism, right?
Plagiarism.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, thank you, Snezhana, and dear Irina, thanks for inviting me. I think it's the second time I'm here. My pleasure. So you can see, I think you can see my presentation on the screen. And I'm from Tomsk State University, Institute for Arts and Culture, and Center for Policy Analysis and Study of Technology. This is the famous beginning point of my presentation. Actually, Pablo Picasso, well, historians think that he never said that, but a lot of people believe he did. So maybe Pablo said that good artists copy and great artists steal. And that's the sort of introductory, conceptual, metaphorical thing for my presentation. We are going to talk about new media and what's happening with authorship, originality of the content, and visuality as the subject of exchange, not just the subject of traditional communication. So the inspiring point for my talk comes from a friend of mine, very well-known contemporary artist from Novosibirsk. His name is Slava Mizin, and he is from a group called Blue Noses. And actually this is not his work. This is work of Saatchi and Saatchi Moscow. And they did it for Moscow Museum of Architecture. And this campaign was very well known, became very well known last year, 2013. And at some point Slava sends me very funny email message with photographs, with his posters, and with this. This is what Blue Noses did 5 years before Saatchi and Saatchi made these projects for Moscow Museum of Architecture. And Slava was laughing, saying, see, Pablo was right. Stealing and copying is the sort of style of the internet culture, and you never prove that it's stolen because it's creative rework of this stuff, and you don't even need to make references or quotes to the original thing. I was like, yes, that's the point. That's the point to think of plagiarism and new media as the challenging environment for understanding of original content, creativity, authorship, borrowing or taking somebody's ideas, specifically pictures, and making something yours out of them. And this is kind of major idea of my talk, that new media and visuality in new media, because we all know that the printing culture based on texts dramatically is shifting towards pure pictorial, picture-based visual environment of the digital new media, and that's why it's very important point to rethink the originality of the image. And if we compare these two things, this is just pure advertising with some very nice graphics. And this is conceptual, critical work, because on the top of the picture there is a monument in Novosibirsk, and underground there is the Statue of Freedom. And when you start reading this picture, it makes very heavy conceptual interpretation. So strategically, these images are different, but technically, they are completely the same. So is it this stealing, or is this the plagiarism? We'll see. So these are other examples of such and such a project. This is the Bolshoi and what's happening underground in Moscow. If you're interested, you can find it online. My approach to this agenda comes from my research and recent dissertation. This is my book called Digital Culture: Shift to Artificial Life. And I work with the idea of digital culture. And I'm trying to make sense that we are living in digital culture, and it's different from what was happening before. And just brief idea of what it's like. So this is phenomenology, it's a major phenomenon. Video games, personal gadgets, artificial intelligence and robotics, remediation. This is how digital media remediate old media, like photography, radio, television, printing culture, electronic books, for example. So this is remediated stuff. The internet, of course, digital art. This is sort of my favorite thing to talk about, and software, of course. Software and digital humanities, very interesting direction in understanding what's happening in the digital culture. And these are value perspective, because one of my arguments is that digital culture provokes pretty heavy tensions in value dimensions, say between transparency and privacy, or interactivity and meaningful communication. These are all controversial dimensions of cultural values, entertainment and addiction, or the tension, the value dilemma. I think connects us to plagiarism, and the topic of my presentation is controversy of copyright and private property for creative content and copyleft. So sort of probably illegal use of digital content, specifically online. And from a point of view of methodology, well, of course we need a heavy methodology to understand how technology helps and doesn't help us to work. I use science and technology studies. Actually, idea of digital culture comes from British post-Marxism. It's cultural studies, British cultural studies. And this is when I start from, but my contribution is science and technology studies as a development of the argument. And if you read Bruno Latour or Andy Pickering, the major controversy of technological world is a human and clash of human and non-human, or as Andy Pickering says, ontological theater. So we live in a world where non-humans and humans interact, and this is open-ended situation. So now here we have a technological system that helps us to organize this conference. So we are in this ontological theater, this digital infrastructure that makes this event happening actually right now. This is the ontological theater that meets our meanings and academic discourses about how technology can be or cannot be used. So, and this is sort of perspective I'd like to bring to new media studies. So we can see it from a different angle. So here is technology as the non-human and cultural discourses as the human. So when we get online, say Facebook is just a technology, it's non-human, and the way we use it. say, for marketing or for dating or for whatever. That's the part of discourses that makes it meaningful. And you never know what's happening in this interaction, because technology sort of breaks up borders and limits of human part of the interaction. So, and a friend of mine who sent me this Saatchi Plagiarism, he and his friend did this great project called Accidental Coincidences. Случайные совпадения. You can find it online. There's the link to this project, and you can find everything there, including it's in Russian, so you can use it. I think most of it. And this is a case I'd like to bring as a sort of material for my presentation and conclusions. So, for example, this is a sort of coincidence of Ilya Repin's painting They Didn't Wait, Unexpected Visit, and Richard Goldschmidt, who did illustrations for the Sherlock Holmes, Agatha Christie's books. And you see the years, it's 1882 and 1884. Was Ilya Repin sort of stealing his idea from the British illustration? This is another example from contemporary art. The project, several projects by Pavel Pepperstein. It's one of the iconic person from Russian contemporary art. Buchert, Glibrov, and the original thing from 1998 by Yuri Chernitsky. So you see the same, more or less the same project related to the nuclear explosion, but it's actually a nice idea to have a home explosion, the original name of the project. So you have this sculpture of a nuclear explosion at home, and it can be used as the art object, as the sort of thing that reminds you of the horrible death of Hiroshima, of whatever. So it's pretty heavy symbolic stuff. And this is how it was developed by Pavel Pepperstein, who called this object bikini. So it's a different reading, different concept, but solution is the same. This is the famous thing. So on the right you see Blue Noses project, and these people, they trying to see something that's behind the fence, and on the left you see the same thing, outdoor sculptures, and again this artistic expression looks very similar. This is the action, and this is the live sculpture, and humans are used, and the form is the same, but is concept the same? Is the artistic ideas? It looks the same, right? We go next. This is Jeff Burton Panda, very nice project, and Rastan Talasiev, very well-known Russian artist. 7 years later, he does these toys flying in the sky. Isn't it the same concept and the same thing? Well, let me just browse some examples from, say, Vladi Fimov and Aristarch Chernyshov and John Stezaker. This is almost 12 years before this project. And one of the arguments of this coincidental accidents project is that there is no Russian contemporary art. That's a total plagiarism. They just simply take Western originals, transform them into the Russian way, and this is how they become Russian contemporary artists. This is pretty heavy argument on the surface, but there is another agenda of, and this is Picasso's agenda. There is no originality in culture. Culture is reference-based. There is always intertextual connections of every single sign, every single symbolic expression exists. And that's how creative mechanism works. And this is how new media becomes a creative brewery instead of a space of plagiarism. There are some nice things. Vlad Monroe, who recently died in 1991, and Marie Muro, 1986. It's almost identical, but there's a different argument because Vlad Monroe did his projects five years before Japanese artists picked it up. Again, this is a very nice example. Yuri Abakumov, late 90s, and Jason Sullivan, early 2000s. You see that concept is totally different. This is the blurring sexuality of the beautiful Helena, which is like disappearing sexual object. And this project is about vague of memories. So this is a sort of happiness in the past of this couple that is disappearing. Our memory doesn't give us any clear picture of the past. It's always a blur. So technically, these are identical works, but conceptually they are different. And this was my point when we were talking with Slava about this project. So basically, plagiarism is this sort of cliche and wrong word for understanding what creative cultural process is and how new media can actually push this creative process forward. And I will explain why later. These are another examples. This is a nice thing. Animals by Bettina Rims and Oleg Kulik, Dead Monkeys. Conceptually, these are very close works because this is about life and death and the perception of living creatures and their transformation into the dead images, and the border between humans, living humans and dead animals. So these are very good conceptually made works, and this is just the borrowing, right? This is just a still. This is a funny one. This is example of the parody, because this is very well known pop art work about human connection to nature, and this is a parody with a very patriotic meaning, because you see these Russian trees and the Russian guy who gets close and close, very close to his Russian symbol of. So conceptually it's different, but this is a parody. So basically we have another dimension, and according to copyright legislation, parody is not plagiarism. So if you make parody for the original content, it's not stealing. However, you use material, that's not your material, right? So there's some funny stuff too. So Demi Hurst with his dead head, and Anatoly Smolovsky, Chaos is My House. And the difference is 2 years. And if you know Anatoly Smolovsky, he is very much aware of what's happening in the international art scene, so you can easily think that he picked the Hearst idea and made his own project in the early 90s. That's just a technical trick, right? This is the heavy thing. Silitsa golf and gymnastics, the photograph installation, and Kamera Skóra. I think he's from Poland. Superstar 3. So this is a Russian artist, and this is the European one. So it's like, and if you carefully analyze these sort of examples of these similarities, you immediately understand that this case doesn't explain what the plagiarism is. It explains how new media helps us to understand cultural processes, and specifically visuality of digital culture. There's another case. So if we carefully think about what new media is based on, the design of new media is plagiaristic, because the way we use it, sharing, taking photographs and sort of storing them in our archives, this is the way we use visuality, not really taking care of who is author, do I steal or I don't. This is what Lev Manovich, one of the main theorists of new media, calls variability. So basically new media is based on the freedom to vary different types of content. Otherwise it's senseless. If you can't use and share different elements of the content on your Facebook page, it doesn't make sense to have it. It is designed as a modular and variable space for combining content. And this is my freedom to copy and paste. This is my, it's for some people this is an obsession. However, it is technology and it's design. That's why we use it this way. So, and if you go back to the ontological theta, it means that idea of ownership and copyright for particular content becomes really weak. This is what's happening now. And this is why legislative systems react in very chaotic way. Say in US, this problem brought the new approach to legal regulation of the digital content called Creative Commons. So this is a license that actually allows you to plagiarize. It actually says, yeah, if you follow some rules, there is no crime if you play with somebody else's content. Because new media is the playground for that. And if you analyze what's happening in, say, in legislation system of some European countries, Turkey, or even in Russia, there is an attempt to push the old school rules to regulate, to ban use the content of the media in this open and free way. So I think, and this is my understanding of the Slavas project and of new media visuality, I personally think that the issue of plagiarism is a very narrow perspective on what's going on in the world of new media. We should have a bigger picture, and the first layer of this picture, of the concept of visuality in new media, is of course free creative transformation, or variability and modularity. The second point is intertextuality, so the freedom to connect different visual signs and combine in different messages. This is why this is how it works. And the third point is openness. So I mean, we shouldn't impose industrial discourses of industrial culture, of industrial legislation system, industrial production system on technological systems of new media. Openness mean, honestly, we never know what's happening out of this interaction between humans and non-humans. We should expect something unexpected, emergent, as theorists say. So intertextual exchange or sharing, intertextuality, and openness. This is how we should treat and understand visual content and use of visual content in new media. And this is what I think is presented in the project called Accidental Coincidences. Thank you very much. That's it, and I'm happy to answer your questions.
Thank you very much, and we have time for one question actually. Yes, and if someone has a question, you're welcome. Because I have. Can I ask you one question? Are there any definite criteria, or are there any criteria that you've come to, your personal definite criteria of whether something is an original product or something is a reproduction of something else? Because those two illustrations, those two images from your friends and from Sachi and Sachi, those are also, I think, illustrations of the saying, it's just the tip of the iceberg. So people just know this and they illustrate it, their different ways.
Yeah, that's a funny question about criteria. Actually, my point was that it's senseless to search for this kind of criteria because criteria is evaluation, but new media is the process, is the creative brewery. So it doesn't make sense to evaluate because, well, of course, if you're a lawyer, you can start playing with legal criteria, but that's not mine. If you compare, say, current Russian regulation and Creative Commons regulation, these are totally different sets of criteria. So.
Thank you very much. There's no point. We got it. Thank you.
There is point, but.